Today I hope we can finally finish the mine, and after that we might have some time left to actually use it. And as always, while I work on that, I'll be reading through some of the stories you guys have sent in and giving my honest thoughts. Alright, the first email today is called She Walked Away from Everything, and now she wants me to pay for it. So, a little over 3 years ago, my girlfriend at the time, we had been together for 4 years, decided overnight that she wanted to start completely fresh. New city, new job, new life. No real warning. She just sat me down one evening and told me she felt trapped, that she needed to go, and that she was leaving at the end of the month. I was blindsided. We had been living together for 2 of those 4 years. We had a joint savings account that we used for shared expenses, rent, groceries, the occasional vacation. Nothing crazy, maybe a few $1,000s in there at any given time. When she left, we split that account down the middle. Clean and straightforward. She took her half. I took mine. She also took all of her belongings, her car, her furniture. I kept the apartment and took over the lease on my own. At the time, she didn't want anything else. She was in a hurry to go and made that very clear. There were a few things she left behind. Some boxes of old clothes, a lamp, a small bookshelf, and she told me I could donate all of it. So I did. She moved across the country. For the first few months we texted here and there. Nothing deep, just the occasional check-in. Then that fizzled out too and we stopped talking entirely. I moved on, started therapy, focused on work, eventually started dating again. Life went on. Then, about 6 weeks ago, I got a letter in the mail from an attorney. She is suing me. For what exactly? For the contents of those boxes I donated. She's claiming that among the things she left behind and explicitly told me to get rid of, there were several items of significant sentimental and monetary value. She listed things like a piece of jewellery her grandmother had given her, a collection of rare vinyl records, and a camera that apparently belonged to her late father. She's claiming these were accidentally left behind, and that I had no right to dispose of them without giving her a proper opportunity to retrieve them. The number she's going after is not small. Here's what I want people to understand. She told me, verbally, clearly more than once, to donate everything. I have a text message from her, sent the week before she left, that says, and I'm paraphrasing, "Whatever I leave behind, just get rid of it. I don't want any of it." I did exactly what she asked. I didn't throw it away carelessly. I donated it to a local charity shop. I didn't make any money off of it. I genuinely thought I was doing the right thing. Now, 3 years later, out of nowhere, she has decided that I am responsible for the loss of these items. My guess is that she's been thinking about those things for a while, and finally worked herself up enough to do something about it. But I cannot understand how this is legally my fault when I followed her explicit instructions. I have a consultation with a lawyer next week. I'm not taking this lightly. But I am absolutely furious, and I honestly don't even know how to process the fact that someone I spent 4 years of my life with is doing this to me. Has anyone ever dealt with anything like this? Am I missing something? Is there any world in which I am actually in the wrong here? Look, I want to be fair here, because I think there are 2 very different things happening in this email and they're worth separating. The first thing is the legal question, and I'm obviously not a lawyer, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But from where I'm sitting, you have a text message where she explicitly told you to get rid of everything she left behind. That seems like a pretty strong piece of evidence in your favour. I think you bring that to your consultation next week, and you let the lawyer tell you where you stand. Don't panic before that conversation happens. The second thing is the emotional side of this, and honestly, that's the part that would get to me the most. Because this isn't just some stranger coming after you. This is someone you loved, someone you lived with, someone you built a life with for 4 years, and instead of picking up the phone and calling you like a normal person, she sent an attorney's letter. That's a choice. That says something about where her head is at, and it's not a great look. Here's the thing though, people who leave the way she left, suddenly, completely, burning it all down, sometimes spend years quietly grieving the things they walked away from, and sometimes that grief turns into anger, and sometimes that anger needs somewhere to go. I'm not excusing what she's doing, not even a little bit. But I think understanding it might help you not lose your mind over it. You followed her instructions, you have proof. Go to that consultation, show them the text, and let the process do what it's supposed to do. And try not to spend the next few weeks replaying the entire relationship in your head, looking for what you could have done differently. You didn't do anything wrong here. Thanks for writing in. Let us know how the consultation goes. If you've got a story of your own that you want me to read and react to, the email is down in the description. Next up, the subject line on this one just says The Lunch Thief. I love it already. Okay, so I work in a mid-sized office, maybe 60 people across 2 floors. We have a shared kitchen on each floor with a full-size fridge, a microwave, a coffee machine, the works. Standard office setup. I've worked here for about 2.5 years, and for the most part it's a fine place to work. People are professional, the environment is pretty relaxed, no major drama, or at least there wasn't. About 4 months ago I started noticing that my lunch was being messed with, and I want to be precise about this because there's a difference between someone accidentally grabbing the wrong thing and what was happening to me. It started small. I'd bring in a container of leftovers and come downstairs at lunch to find that someone had taken a portion of it. Not all of it, just some of it, like they helped themselves to a scoop and put the container back. The first time it happened, I genuinely thought I had miscounted. The second time I started paying closer attention. Over the following weeks it kept happening. Different foods, same pattern. Someone was consistently getting into my lunch and taking part of it. I started labelling everything clearly with my name. Didn't matter. I tried putting my food in a bag inside the container, tucked behind other people's things at the back of the fridge. Still happened. I mentioned it casually to a couple of co-workers and found out I was not the only one. At least 3 other people on my floor had noticed food going missing. One woman said she had brought in a full portion of pasta and come back to find the entire thing was gone. Another guy said sandwiches had been disappearing on and off for months and he just assumed he was forgetting to bring them in. So at this point, I'm fairly confident there's someone in this office who's regularly stealing food from the shared fridge, and I have a strong suspicion about who it is. There is one person, I'm not going to give details that would identify them, but there is one person who I've noticed on multiple occasions lingering in the kitchen at odd times. Not during the usual lunch rush. I mean like 10 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, just hanging around in there. I've also noticed that this person never seems to have their own food. In 2.5 years, I have never once seen them bring a bag, a container, a lunchbox, anything. They always seem to be eating something though. I haven't caught them in the act, I don't have proof, but between the pattern of the thefts, the timing and everything else, I'm fairly convinced. My question is, what do I actually do here? Do I report it to HR without solid proof? Do I say something directly to this person? Do I set up some kind of situation to catch them? I feel stupid even typing that last one out, but I am genuinely at my wit's end. It's not even about the food at this point. It's the principle of it. I work hard for my money. I pack my lunch because I'm trying to be responsible with my budget, and someone is just casually helping themselves to it, like that's acceptable. What would you do? Okay, so the lunch thief. This is one of those situations that sounds minor on the surface, and yet I completely understand why it is driving you absolutely insane. Because it's not just about the food. You're right about that. It's about the fact that someone in your workplace, someone you probably have to look at every day, maybe even someone you've been polite to, is doing something they know is wrong and just getting away with it. Here's where I land on this. You don't have proof. And that matters a lot, because if you go to HR pointing the finger at a specific person and you're wrong, or you're right but you can't back it up, that situation gets uncomfortable fast. So I wouldn't go in there naming names just yet. What I would do is report the general pattern to HR or whoever handles that kind of thing in your office, not as an accusation against one person, but as a documented pattern of food theft that is affecting multiple employees. Frame it that way. Get the other people whose food has gone missing to say something too, because there is strength in numbers and it stops looking like one person's complaint. Once it's formally on record, your company may put up a notice in the kitchen, install a camera, or handle it in some other way. That's their job, not yours. Now, the part of me that would be losing my mind in this situation wants to tell you to absolutely set up a little trap. Put something in there that's clearly yours, wait, and watch. I'm not going to tell you to do that, but I'm not going to pretend the thought isn't satisfying. The thing is, if you're right about who this person is and they're taking food because they're struggling in some way, financially or otherwise, that's a complicated situation. It doesn't make it okay, but it might change how you feel about the outcome. And if they're just doing it because they can and they think no one will notice, then yeah, HR is the right move. Report the pattern, get your co-workers to back you up, let the office handle it, and maybe, in the meantime, bring a little combination lock lunchbox. I've seen people do that, and I respect it every single time. Thanks for writing in. I hope the lunches stay safe from here on out. This one is titled, It's Just a Name, So Why Does It Feel Like So Much More? My partner and I have been together for 6 years. We have 2 kids, 3 years old and 18 months. We're not married. That's a choice we've both been comfortable with for a long time. We don't have anything against marriage, it's just never been something either of us felt we needed to do to validate what we have. We own a home together, we've built a life together, and we're both fully committed to each other and to our family. The piece of paper has just never felt necessary. Our kids have my last name. When our first was born, we talked about it and agreed, pretty easily actually, that they'd take my name. My partner is close with their family, but has always had a complicated relationship with the idea of their own last name, for reasons that go back to their childhood that I won't get into. So my name felt like the natural choice, and we were both on the same page. Now here's where it gets complicated. About 2 months ago, my partner sat me down and told me that they've been thinking a lot about our family and about how we present to the outside world. They said that they've started to feel strongly that we should all share the same last name, meaning me, them, and both kids. They said it would make us feel more like a unit, that when we travel, when we go to school events, when we're at the doctor, they don't want there to be any question about who belongs to whom. They want us to feel like a complete family on paper, not just in practice. And the option they're proposing is that we all take a hyphenated version of both our names. I want to be clear that I understand where this is coming from. I do. And the hyphenated name isn't ugly. It actually sounds fine. But here's my honest reaction, which I haven't fully voiced yet. I don't want to change my name. My name is mine. I've had it my whole life. My professional reputation is attached to it. My publications, my certifications, my entire career history. All of it is under my name. Changing it feels like a bigger deal than my partner seems to think it is. I also feel a little blindsided because we already made this decision once. The kids have my name, that was the agreement, and now it feels like the goalposts are moving. At the same time, I love my partner. I understand that feelings evolve. I don't want to dismiss something that clearly matters to them. I just don't know how to have this conversation without it turning into me seeming like I'm prioritizing my own comfort over our family. Is it unreasonable to not want to change my name? How do I approach this without it becoming a bigger fight than it needs to be? This is a really thoughtful email, and I can tell you've been sitting with this for a while before writing it down. So let me just be straightforward with you. No, it is not unreasonable to not want to change your name. Full stop. Your name is yours. It is attached to your identity, your career, your history. The fact that your partner is feeling differently now than they did a few years ago is valid, and feelings changing over time is completely human, but that doesn't mean you are automatically obligated to make a change that affects you this significantly. Here's what I think the real conversation needs to be about, though. It's not actually about the name. The name is the surface. What your partner is describing, wanting to feel like a unit, not wanting to feel like an outsider at school events or doctor's appointments, that's a real feeling, and it deserves a real response. They want to feel like they belong to this family in the same visible, official way that you and the kids do. And that's worth taking seriously. So the question I'd sit with is there a way to address that underlying feeling without the specific solution being that you change your name? Could the kids have a hyphenated name going forward in informal contexts? Could your partner take your name if they ever wanted to? Could you have a more direct conversation about the specific moments where they feel that disconnection and see if there are other ways to address those? I think you can go into this conversation from a place of genuine care for what your partner is feeling without agreeing up front to something that doesn't sit right with you. You're allowed to say, I hear you, this matters to me too, and I want us to work through it together. But I need you to hear that changing my name is a big ask and I need time to think about it. That's not you being dismissive, that's you being honest. And 6 years in, you both deserve honesty over avoidance. I hope the conversation goes better than you're expecting it to. All right, the next one is called the dumpster situation. So a bit of backstory before I get into what actually happened. My wife and I have been doing a big clean out of our property. We bought our house about 4 years ago, and the previous owners left a significant amount of junk behind. Old appliances, broken furniture, bags of miscellaneous stuff in the garage that we never fully dealt with. We kept saying we'd get to it, and we never did. This spring we finally committed, rented a large dumpster, had it placed in our driveway, and blocked off a full weekend to just get it all done. The dumpster was delivered on a Friday afternoon. We planned to spend Saturday and Sunday filling it and have it picked up early the following week. We were pretty excited about it, honestly. There's something genuinely satisfying about finally dealing with stuff you've been putting off for years. Saturday morning we got started early. By midday we'd made a solid dent. We took a break in the afternoon, went inside to eat and rest for a bit. When we came back outside about 2 hours later, we noticed immediately that the dumpster looked fuller than we had left it. Not dramatically so, but enough that both of us noticed independently before we even said anything to each other. We looked closer, and there was stuff in there that was not ours. A broken plastic lawn chair, several black garbage bags tied up tightly, an old vacuum cleaner, a rolled up piece of carpet. None of it was ours. Our neighbour, I'll call him Dale, had apparently taken advantage of the 2 hours we were inside and helped himself to our dumpster. Now Dale and I are not close, but we've always been civil. We wave when we see each other. We've had brief conversations over the fence a handful of times. Nothing hostile, nothing warm, just neighbours. I was annoyed, but I decided to go over and talk to him directly before making any assumptions. I knocked on his door, and when he answered, I just asked him straightforwardly whether he had put anything in our dumpster while we were inside. He immediately got defensive. He said that he had just thrown in a couple of small things and that was no big deal. When I pointed out that there was actually quite a lot of his stuff in there, and that we were paying for the dumpster by weight, he kind of shrugged and said that there was plenty of room and he didn't think I'd mind. I told him that I did mind, actually, and that I'd appreciate it if he didn't add anything else. He said fine, went back inside and closed the door. The next morning, and I genuinely could not believe this, there was more stuff in the dumpster. Another bag, a broken piece of shelving, what looked like an old car seat. He'd gone back out after our conversation and added more anyway. I am at a loss. This man looked me in the eye, heard me say I wasn't okay with it, and then did it again the moment I wasn't watching. My wife wants to call the rental company and report it. I want to confront him again, but I'm worried it escalates into something uglier. We also have to live next to this man potentially for years. What is the right move here? Dale. 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 Okay, so I want to talk about two separate things here. The first is what Dale did, and the second is what you do about it now. What Dale did is honestly pretty brazen. It's one thing to toss something into a neighbour's dumpster when they're not around and hope nobody notices. That's still wrong, but I at least understand the logic. It's another thing entirely to do it. Get caught. Have a direct conversation where the neighbour clearly expresses that they're not okay with it, and then go back out and do it again anyway. That second part is what gets me. That's not an accident or a lapse in judgment. That's a choice. Dale made a deliberate choice to disrespect you after you gave him every opportunity to just stop. So no, I don't think you're overreacting at all. Now, what do? I think your wife is right that calling the rental company is a reasonable move. Let them know that additional waste was added by someone other than you, and ask how that affects the weight and the cost. Get clarity on what you're actually being charged for before the pickup happens. That's just practical. As for Dale, I wouldn't go back for a third conversation. You've already had the talk. He already made clear that he wasn't going to listen. Going back again gives him the opportunity to be rude to you and doesn't actually solve anything. What I would do is document everything. Take photos of what's in the dumpster. Note the dates and times of when the extra items appeared. If Dale's disposal of his items ends up costing you extra money, you have every right to bring that to him formally, and if he refuses to cover it, small claims court exists for exactly this kind of thing. The harder truth is that you have to live next to this man. So whatever you do, try to keep it factual and low temperature. Don't let it become a neighbourhood war over a dumpster, as satisfying as it might feel in the moment to really let him have it. But yeah, Dale was wrong. Handle the costs, document it, and keep your distance for a while. Some neighbours you just have to manage from afar. Thanks for sending this in. Genuinely one of the most quietly infuriating emails I've read in a while. This next one is titled, "She asked me for permission and I don't know how to feel." I'm going to try to keep this as clear as I can because there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in it, and I don't want it to come out messy. My parents separated 14 months ago. I'm 24. My younger brother is 19. The separation was not dramatic. There was no big blow-up, no affair that anyone knows of, no single event that caused it. They had just grown apart over a very long period of time in a very quiet way. By the time they actually separated, it had felt inevitable for years. My brother and I both saw it coming. When it happened, it was sad but not shocking. My dad moved out first. He got an apartment about 20 minutes away. My mum stayed in the family home. Both of them have been pretty composed about the whole thing, which I respect. They've been civil with each other for the sake of us, and I think genuinely for their own sake too. They were together for over 25 years. I think they do still care about each other, just not in the way that works for a marriage anymore. About 3 weeks ago, my mum called me. Not my brother, just me. I think she called me first because I'm older, and because we've always been slightly closer. She said she wanted to talk to me about something and asked if I had time. We ended up on the phone for almost an hour. She told me that she had met someone. Not recently. Apparently this person has been in her life in a friendly capacity for a while. Someone she knows through a community group she joined after my dad moved out. She said that over the past few months the friendship had started to feel like something more. Nothing had happened. She wanted to be clear about that. But she said she was aware that She had feelings for this person and that she believed they felt the same way. And then she asked me, directly, carefully, in a way that I could tell she had been thinking about for a long time, whether I would be okay with her pursuing it. I didn't know what to say. I told her I needed to think about it, and she said she completely understood and that she wasn't going anywhere and there was no rush. I've been thinking about it for 3 weeks now, and I still don't have a clean answer. Part of me is genuinely happy for her. She has been lonely. I've seen it. She throws herself into activities and keeps herself busy, but there's a loneliness underneath it that you can't hide from your kids. She deserves companionship. I know that. But another part of me, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, feels a strange kind of grief. Not because I want my parents to get back together. I don't think that's it. It's something harder to name. It's like the separation was the end of one thing, and this would be the end of something else entirely. The last version of what our family used to be. I also don't know what to say to my brother. My mum asked me not to tell him yet, and I've respected that. But keeping something this significant from him doesn't feel right either. I don't really know what I'm looking for from this email. Maybe just to say it out loud somewhere. Thank you for writing this one in. I mean that. Because I think a lot of people have felt exactly what you're describing and haven't had the words for it, and you put it really well. That feeling you described, not wanting your parents back together but still grieving something. I think that's one of the most honest things anyone has sent in, and I want to name it properly because I think you deserve that. What you're grieving isn't the marriage. You already grieved that. What you're grieving is the last shared context your family had. The version of your mum that existed only inside that family. Once she steps into something new, that version closes. And that's a real loss, even if the new thing is good. You're allowed to feel that. You don't have to rush past it. Now, to the actual question she asked you. Here's my honest take. Your mum didn't ask you for permission in a legal sense. She asked you because she loves you and she wanted you to feel included in something that affects the family. That's actually a really thoughtful thing to do. She could have just done it and told you after. But here's the thing, and I say this gently. It's not really yours to give or withhold. She's an adult. She's been through a separation. She's been lonely. She has found something that makes her feel less alone. You can have feelings about that, and those feelings are valid. But at the end of the day, your job isn't to approve or disapprove. Your job is to be honest with her about where you're at emotionally, so she understands what kind of support you might need through this. Call her back. Tell her what you told this email, that you're happy for her and you're also still processing it. She sounds like someone who can hold both of those things at once. And the brother situation, I hear you. That one is genuinely tricky. I gently encourage your mum to bring him in soon. Keeping adult children at different levels of information about something this significant tends to create complications down the line. You're clearly a really caring person. I hope this gets easier. Okay, this one is called His Mail is Still Coming and I Don't Know What to Do With It. My ex and I broke up 11 months ago. We had been together for 3 years, lived together for the last 2 of them. The breakup was mutual in the sense that we both knew it was the right call, but it was still painful. We had built a real life together in that apartment, and dismantling it was not easy for either of us. He moved out about a month before the lease ended. I stayed until the lease was up and then moved into a new place on my own. All of this to say, I've been in a completely different apartment for almost 8 months now. New address, new space, fresh start. Here is the problem. His mail is being forwarded to me, not to the old apartment, to my new one. Which means at some point, he submitted a mail forwarding request and listed my new address as his forwarding destination. I don't know if this was intentional or a mistake. I want to assume it was a mistake because the alternative is a little unsettling. but whatever the reason, I've now received 11 pieces of mail addressed to him at my current address. Some of it looks like junk, catalogues, promotional stuff, but some of it looks more significant. There have been 2 pieces that look like they could be financial documents. One envelope that looked like it might be from a medical office. I've not opened any of it. I want to make that clear. Every single piece is sitting in a stack on my counter, unopened. We are not in contact. The breakup, while mutual, ended on terms that were not exactly warm. We don't follow each other on social media. We have no shared friends who actively keep us connected. I have no easy or comfortable way to reach out to him. My options as I see them are: 1. Reach out to him directly and let him know what's happening so he can update his address. 2. Write return to sender on everything and put it back in the mail. 3. Just throw it away. 4. Do nothing and keep letting it pile up. None of these feel entirely right to me. The return to sender option seems most neutral, but I'm not sure it actually gets the mail to him. Throwing it away feels wrong, especially if there's something important in there. Reaching out feels like opening a door I closed for a reason, and doing nothing is obviously not a solution. What would you actually do here? Okay, this is one of those situations where the practical answer and the emotionally comfortable answer are not exactly the same thing, so let me just be straightforward. Throw away the junk mail, catalogues, promotional stuff, anything that is clearly not important, that can go in the bin. You're not obligated to manage his magazine subscriptions. For the stuff that looks important, the financial documents, the potential medical envelope, the right thing to do is write return to sender, not at this address on each one and put them back in the mailbox. I know you said you're not sure that actually gets it to him, but what it does do is flag to the postal service that the forwarding address is wrong, which should eventually stop the mail from coming to you. That's the cleanest, most neutral move available to you. Now, should you reach out to him directly? I don't think you have to. I really don't. You're not responsible for his mail management. You're not his personal assistant. You close that chapter. Reaching out to sort out his postal situation is not your problem to solve, and if the thought of contacting him makes you uncomfortable, you're fully within your rights to just handle it through the return to sender route and move on. The one exception I'd make is if something arrives that is so clearly time-sensitive or urgent that ignoring it feels genuinely wrong, like if a legal notice shows up with a deadline on it. In that case, maybe a single short message, "Hey, your mail is being forwarded to me by mistake. You need to update your address," is the decent thing to do. You don't have to be warm about it. You don't have to start a conversation. Just the information, nothing more. But outside of that, return to sender, let the postal system sort it out, and stop letting that stack on your counter take up any more of your mental energy. You've already done the hard part of moving on. Don't let 11 pieces of mail drag you back. This one is called "He Has My Cat and He Knows Exactly What He's Doing." I need to start by saying that I'm a reasonable person. I have handled this breakup with more maturity than I thought I was capable of. I have not shown up at his door. I have not sent unhinged messages at 2 a.m. I have been composed, measured and adult about the whole thing. But I am reaching the end of what I can reasonably be expected to tolerate, because my ex-boyfriend has my cat, and he will not give her back. Let me give you the full picture. Miso is a 3-year-old tortoiseshell cat. I got her when she was 8 weeks old. I named her. I paid for her. I took her to every single vet appointment she has ever had. I have every receipt, every vaccination record, every document with her name on it. She is my cat in every legal and emotional sense of the word. When my ex and I started getting serious, about a year into our relationship, I moved into his apartment. Miso came with me, obviously. She's my cat. She goes where I go. My ex and Miso got along fine. He liked her. She tolerated him the way cats tolerate most people, who aren't their primary person, with mild indifference punctuated by occasional affection. It was fine. Nobody ever had any confusion about whose cat she was. We broke up 4 months ago. It was not amicable. I won't get into everything that happened because it's a long and painful story, but the short version is that he did something that broke my trust completely, and the relationship ended quickly and badly. When I moved out, I was in a state. I was staying temporarily with a friend who has a dog, and the friend's apartment is small. I made the decision, in a moment of practical thinking that I now deeply regret, to leave Miso with my ex temporarily while I got myself sorted out. I told him it would be 2 to 3 weeks. He said that was fine. It has been 4 months. In my defence, the first month was genuinely chaotic. I was dealing with the emotional fallout of the breakup, finding a new place, moving in, getting settled. By the time I was stable enough to think clearly, 6 weeks had passed. I reached out and asked to come get Miso. He said he needed a few more days because he was going out of town. Okay, fine. I waited. Then it was that he wasn't sure the transition would be good for her. Then it was that she had gotten comfortable and moving her might be stressful. Then it was that he wanted to talk about a shared custody arrangement. A shared custody arrangement for my cat. That he has had for 4 months because I asked him to watch her for 3 weeks. Every time I try to arrange a pickup, he has a new reason why now isn't a good time. He responds to my messages slowly and vaguely. Last week I told him I was coming on Saturday to get her, and he said he wouldn't be home. I told him I would come Sunday instead, and he left me on read. I don't want to involve anyone official if I can avoid it, because I just want my cat back, not a legal situation. But I am starting to think I have no other choice. What do I do? Okay, I have a lot of feelings about this one. First of all, Miso is an incredible name for a tortoiseshell cat, and I just want that acknowledged before we get into anything else. Now. What your ex is doing is not okay. I want to be really clear about that. He is not doing this because he loves Miso and is worried about her well-being. He's doing this because he knows it bothers you, and this is the one piece of leverage he has left. The shared custody suggestion alone tells you everything you need to know about his motivations here. He's not confused about the situation. He's using your cat to maintain a connection, or a conflict, or both. Either way, it is not about Miso. Here is what I would do, and I want you to actually do this rather than continuing to send messages he can ignore. Put it in writing. Send him one clear, calm, final message that says something like, "Miso is my cat. I am coming to collect her on this date at this time. Please make sure you are available. Keep it short. Keep it factual. No emotion, no history, no rehashing of the breakup, just the information. And then show up. If he's not there, or if he refuses to hand her over, that is when you look into your legal options. And here is the thing. You actually have a strong case. You have her vet records, her purchase or adoption documents, receipts, everything in your name. In most places, pets are considered property under the law, and the paper trail you're describing puts ownership clearly in your favour. A letter from a lawyer, even just an inquiry letter, has a way of making people like your ex suddenly become very available on Saturday morning. I know you don't want it to become a legal situation, but sometimes the only way to avoid a long legal situation is to make it clear you're willing to go there. He's counting on you not wanting the hassle. Prove him wrong, go get your cat. Miso deserves to be home. This next one is titled, "I think I'm the other woman and I feel sick about it." I don't even know how to start this, so I'm just going to say it. I have been seeing a guy for about 2 months, and I have started to suspect that he might be in a relationship with someone else. And if that's true, then I am the other woman, and I've never felt so awful about something in my life. We met through a mutual friend at a group thing. Dinner, a bunch of people, very casual. We got talking, exchanged numbers, started texting. He asked me out about a week later. Everything in the beginning felt completely normal. He was attentive, funny, present. Our first few dates were great. I was genuinely excited about him. But about 3 weeks in, I started noticing things. Small things at first. He would go quiet on his phone for long stretches in the evenings and then suddenly be very responsive again. He was never available on weekends. Always busy, always something vague, a family thing, plans he'd already committed to. When I asked if I could come along to anything, there was always a reason why that wouldn't work. He never posted anything on social media, which on its own means nothing, but combined with everything else, it started to feel like a pattern. Then, about 2 weeks ago, I was at his apartment for the first time. He had always come to mine before, and when I finally saw his place, I understood why. There were 2 toothbrushes in the bathroom, a second set of house keys on the hook by the door, moisturiser on the nightstand that was clearly not his, a pair of shoes by the door in a size that was not his and not mine. I didn't say anything that night. I didn't know how. I was trying to talk myself out of what I was seeing, telling myself there were innocent explanations. Maybe he had a roommate. Maybe a friend had left things. I went home and I spent the rest of the night going over it in my head. I did something I'm not proud of after that. I looked him up more carefully online, through a series of public posts and tagged photos that took me longer to find than I'd like to admit. I found what appears to be a long-term girlfriend. Photos going back at least 2 years. Nothing recent, but nothing that indicated they had broken up either. I haven't confronted him yet. I haven't reached out to her. I don't know what to do, or in what order to do it. I feel genuinely sick. I liked this guy. I was starting to really like him. And now I feel like an idiot and also like I have somehow become a person I never wanted to be. Even though I didn't know, what do I do? First thing I want to say, and I want to say it clearly, you are not the villain of this story. You didn't know. You went on dates with someone who presented himself as available, and you had every reason to take that at face value. Whatever is happening here, the fault lies with him, not with you. Please hold on to that while you figure out what to do next. Now let's talk about what you actually do, because I think there's a clear path here even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Step 1 is the hardest one, but it's the most important. You need to talk to him directly, not over text, not through someone else, directly. Tell him what you saw, tell him what you found, and ask him to explain. You deserve a straight answer, and he deserves the chance to give you one before you do anything else. Maybe there's an explanation. I'm not saying there is, because everything you've described sounds pretty damning. But you should give him the opportunity to speak before you act on what you've found. And watch how he responds. Someone with nothing to hide doesn't get defensive or try to twist it back on you. If he confirms what you suspect, or if he lies and you don't believe him, then you end it. Immediately and completely. You do not owe this man another date or another conversation beyond that one. As for whether to contact her, I know people have strong opinions about this, and I'll just share mine. If I were in her position, I would want to know. That's just how I feel about it personally. But it's not your obligation, and reaching out to a stranger about something this sensitive is a decision only you can make. If you do decide to say something, keep it simple and factual. Don't make it emotional. Just give her the information and let her do what she wants with it. You trusted someone and they appear to have used that trust carelessly. That's on him. You're going to be okay. This one is called, I keep showing up for her and I'm not sure she even notices. This is about my best friend, or the person I've been calling my best friend for the past 4 years, because lately I've been quietly questioning whether that title still fits. We met in college and clicked immediately. Same sense of humour, similar values, compatible energy. For the first couple of years, the friendship felt genuinely mutual. We checked in on each other, made time for each other, showed up when it mattered. I felt seen by her in a way that's hard to find, and I valued that deeply. somewhere in the last year and a half, something shifted. And I've been trying to figure out whether the shift is real or whether I'm being oversensitive, which is why I'm writing this down instead of just sitting with it. Here are the specific things I've noticed. When she is going through something, a hard week at work, a conflict with her family, anything difficult, she calls me, sometimes for hours. I always pick up. I always listen. I ask questions. I offer perspective. I check in the next day to see how she's doing. I do this because I love her and because that's what you do for people you care about. When I am going through something, the dynamic is different. I'll call her, and within 15 or 20 minutes the conversation has shifted back to her. Not always dramatically. Sometimes it's subtle, but I've started to notice it consistently enough that I don't think I'm imagining it. The last time I was really struggling, I called her and tried to talk about what was going on with me. By the end of the call, we had spent maybe 5 minutes on my situation and the rest of the time on something that was bothering her that she'd remembered mid-conversation. It's not just the phone calls either. Making plans has become something I almost always initiate. If I stop reaching out, I'm not sure how long it would take for her to notice. I actually tested this once. I waited to see how long she'd go before getting in touch. It was 19 days. 19 days before she sent a single message, and when she did, it was a meme. Not even a check-in. A meme. I don't think she's a bad person. I want to be really clear about that. I think she might just not realise what she's doing, or not realise how the imbalance feels from my side. But I am starting to feel like a resource she accesses when she needs something, rather than a friend she actually thinks about. I don't know whether to say something or just quietly start investing less in the friendship. Both options scare me for different reasons. This one hit pretty close to home, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people listening. The 19 days thing, that's the part that really says something. Because it's one thing to be bad at texting, or to go through a busy period where you're not as present as usual. Everyone does that. But 19 days with nothing, and then a meme, that tells you something about where you sit in her mind when she's not actively needing something from you. And I think on some level you already know that, which is why you ran the test in the first place. Here's my honest take. I don't think you should quietly start pulling away without saying anything. I know that feels like the lower risk option because it avoids confrontation, but what it actually does is let the friendship die without ever giving it the chance to be fixed. And if this person genuinely matters to you, and it's clear she does, that seems like a waste. I think you should tell her. Not as an accusation, not as a list of grievances, but as an honest conversation between two people who are supposed to care about each other. Something like, I've been feeling a little invisible in our friendship lately and I wanted to talk to you about it because you matter to me. That's it. You don't need to present the evidence like a court case. You just need to open the door. One of two things will happen. Either she'll hear you, be genuinely surprised, and make an effort to show up differently, in which case the friendship grows and gets better. Or she'll be dismissive or make it about herself even in that moment, in which case you have your answer and you can adjust your investment accordingly with a clear conscience. The friendships worth keeping are the ones where both people are willing to hear hard things and do something about it. You deserve to find out whether this one qualifies. All right, the last email of the day. This one is called, I need to tell my friend something she's not going to want to hear. I want to start by saying that I have genuinely been agonizing over this for months. This is not something I've taken lightly or something I've been dismissive about. I have thought about it from every angle I can think of, and I still don't have a clean answer, which is why I'm writing this in. The situation is about one of my closest friends. We've known each other for about 5 years. She's one of the kindest, most generous people I know. She would do anything for the people she loves, and she has shown up for me in ways I won't forget. I care about her deeply, which is exactly why this is so hard. The issue is her hygiene, and I mean that in a specific, consistent, and unfortunately impossible to ignore way. It's not occasional. It's not a bad day here and there. It is a persistent and noticeable body odour issue that has been present for as long as I've known her, and over the past year or so it seems to have gotten worse rather than better. I want to be sensitive about this because I'm aware there are a lot of reasons why someone might struggle with this. It could be medical, it could be related to diet or stress or medication, it could be something she's completely unaware of. I'm not trying to be cruel, and I am not coming from a place of judgment. I am coming from a place of genuine care, and also, if I'm being honest, from a place of increasing discomfort. The discomfort is something I feel bad about, but I think I need to be honest about it because it's affecting things. There are situations where I've subtly tried to create physical distance without being obvious about it. There have been occasions where I've been less enthusiastic about plans that involve being in a small or enclosed space. Last month we shared a car for a 2-hour drive, and it was genuinely difficult. I felt terrible about feeling that way because she was right there being her wonderful self and completely unaware. And that's the thing that keeps coming back to me. She is unaware. I am almost certain of it. Because this is not a person who would knowingly make the people around her uncomfortable. If she knew, she would do something about it. And if she doesn't know, which I believe to be the case, then everyone around her has been silently uncomfortable for years, while she has gone through life without the information she needs to address it. When I think about it that way, saying nothing starts to feel less like kindness and more like a failure to show up for someone who has always shown up for me. But I have no idea how to actually say it. Every version I rehearse in my head sounds brutal. There is no graceful way to tell someone they smell, and I'm terrified of humiliating her, damaging the friendship, or making her feel so self-conscious that it affects her in ways that go far beyond this one conversation. Has anyone actually done this successfully? Is there a way to do it that doesn't end in devastation? And if you think I shouldn't say anything at all, I genuinely want to hear that argument too, because part of me is still hoping someone will make it convincingly. Nobody's going to make that argument convincingly, at least not me. Because I think you already know what you need to do, and the reason you've been sitting on this for months isn't because you're unsure, it's because you're scared. And that's completely understandable. This is one of the harder conversations a person can have with someone they love. But let me make the case for saying something, because I think you deserve to hear it laid out clearly. You have a friend who has been walking through her life for years without a piece of information that is directly affecting how people experience being around her. Not strangers, people who care about her. And all of those people, including you, have made the quiet decision to protect their own comfort in the moment by staying silent. I understand why. It's an awful conversation to initiate, but the cumulative effect of that silence is that she never gets the chance to do anything about it. She just keeps going, unaware, while the people around her manage their discomfort in ways she can't see. That's not protection. That's just a more comfortable version of letting her down. You're clearly not someone who wants to humiliate her. Everything in this email tells me that, and I think the way you approach this conversation should reflect exactly that. Lead with love, not with the problem. What I mean by that is this. Don't open with the hygiene issue. Open with how much she means to you and how much you've wrestled with this because you care about her. Something like, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about for a while, and I've put it off because I was scared of getting it wrong, but I think not saying it is the wrong choice. And then say it, gently, privately, clearly. Tell her you've noticed something and you're only bringing it up because you know she'd want to know, and because you'd want her to tell you if the situation were reversed. and then give her space to react. She might be embarrassed. She might cry. She might go quiet. All of that is okay. You don't need to fill the silence or over-explain or keep apologizing. Just be there and let her process it. The friendship might feel a little fragile in the days right after that conversation. That's normal. But I genuinely believe that a friendship strong enough to survive 5 years, and everything you've described in this email is strong enough to survive honesty. And if you're the kind of friend she deserves, which from everything you've written, you are, this is what showing up for someone actually looks like sometimes. Not just the easy stuff. You can do this, and she's lucky to have someone who cares enough to lose sleep over how to do it right. Thanks for sending this one in. I mean it. This was a good one to end on, and that's it for this video. Thank you for listening,